Aristotle was a very important philosopher, one of the greatest minds in history. His ideas and teachings have influenced people for thousands of years, and he is still remembered today as a symbol of wisdom and curiosity. He lived in ancient Greece a long time ago, during a time when the world was very different from today. The cities were full of marble buildings, bustling marketplaces, and people in flowing robes. Greece was a land of great thinkers, where people gathered to share ideas and debate important questions about life, nature, and the universe. They loved to ask questions about the world, always searching for answers and trying to understand how everything worked. This spirit of curiosity was everywhere. Aristotle was born in a place called Stagira in 384 BC, a small town in northern Greece. His birthplace was far from the big cities, but it was still full of life and learning. That's over 2,400 years ago. Imagine how much the world has changed since then, yet Aristotle's ideas are still studied today. Back then, Greece was like the center of learning, where people from many places came to study, teach, and discover new things about the world. Aristotle's dad was a doctor, someone who helped people when they were sick, and knew a lot about the human body. He taught Aristotle to be curious about the world, encouraging him to observe nature, ask questions, and never stop learning. Aristotle wanted to know how things worked. From the tiniest plants to the stars in the sky, he was always eager to discover new things. People in ancient Greece believed in many gods, each with their own stories and powers. These gods were a big part of everyday life. They told stories about these gods called myths. These tales explained things like thunder, the seasons, and even how the world began. But Aristotle was different. He wanted to use reason and observation instead of just believing stories. He thought it was important to look at the world carefully and think deeply. He wanted proof for why things were the way they were, using evidence and logic to find real answers. This made Aristotle a true pioneer of science and philosophy. When Aristotle was 17, he went to Athens. He studied at Plato's academy. Plato was another famous philosopher. He had a school for the brightest minds. Aristotle learned a lot from Plato. He stayed at the academy for 20 years. He became a great thinker himself. But Aristotle didn't just agree with everything Plato said. He started to develop his own ideas. He thought we should study the world around us closely. He disagreed with some of Plato's theories about the universe. Aristotle believed in using logic and evidence. This made him a pioneer in science and philosophy. Aristotle was interested in everything. He was a true explorer of knowledge, always asking questions about the world around him and searching for answers wherever he could find them. He studied plants, animals, the stars, and even how people think. Aristotle wanted to understand not just what things were, but why they worked the way they did. He was curious about the tiniest insects and the farthest stars in the sky. He is famous for his work on logic. Logic is a way of thinking that helps us figure out if ideas make sense. Aristotle was one of the first people to study logic carefully and write down rules for good thinking. Logic is how we think and argue. It helps us solve problems, make decisions, and understand each other better. Thanks to Aristotle, people learned how to build strong arguments and spot mistakes in reasoning. Aristotle's ideas about logic are still used today. In schools and universities, students learn about his logical rules, and even computers use similar ideas to solve problems. He invented a way to organize arguments called syllogisms, which help people see if their ideas are correct or not. This system made it easier for people to talk about complicated topics. This helped people think more clearly. By following Aristotle's methods, people could avoid confusion and find the truth more easily. He also made important discoveries in science. Aristotle believed that careful observation and asking questions were the best ways to learn about nature. He was one of the first to study animals in a scientific way. Instead of just guessing, he watched animals closely and wrote down what he saw. He grouped animals by their characteristics. He observed their behavior, their shapes, and how they lived, creating some of the earliest records of animal life. He even dissected animals to learn about their bodies. This was a new idea at the time, and it helped people understand how living things work inside. Though some of his scientific conclusions were later found to be incorrect, his methods were groundbreaking for his time. Aristotle's curiosity and careful thinking inspired generations of scientists and thinkers to keep exploring and asking questions about our amazing world. After years of studying and teaching, Aristotle decided to create his own place of learning. He started a school in Athens called the Lyceum, which quickly became famous throughout the ancient world. The Lyceum was more than just a building. It was a lively center where people from many backgrounds could come together to learn from Aristotle and each other. Inside, the Lyceum had a large library filled with scrolls and writings, making it one of the greatest collections of knowledge in its time. In many ways, it was like a university for the ancient world, where students could study a wide range of subjects and share ideas. Aristotle had a unique way of teaching. Instead of sitting in one place, he would walk around the gardens and pathways of the Lyceum as he spoke. His students would follow him, listening closely, and asking questions as they walked together, turning every lesson into a moving conversation. Because of this, Aristotle's followers were called the Peripatetics, from the Greek word for walking. Their school of thought became known for learning on the move. Aristotle wrote about almost everything: physics, biology, politics, poetry, and more. His curiosity knew no bounds, and he encouraged his students to explore many different fields. He was not just a teacher, but also a scientist, a philosopher, and a prolific writer whose works covered nearly every subject imaginable. The knowledge he shared at the Lyceum inspired countless students, and his writings were passed down through generations, shaping the minds of many great thinkers. Over time, Aristotle's ideas spread far beyond Greece, reaching scholars and philosophers all over the world. His teachings became the roots of Western thought, influencing science, philosophy, and education for centuries to come.